What do you guys use for computers? You use Windows or Macs?
Windows.
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 Yeah, me too. I'm a Windows person. I try to be a Mac person. I try, but I just hate it. Anyway, I bring that up because on Windows, to do a copy and paste, you do Control C and then Control V, or you could do it from the right click. I think that's what the Steelers did. I think the Steelers just took it's like, okay, let's take the tennis, just copy that and paste it onto Green Bay, and there you go. It was almost a carbon copy of that game.
Hmm. Yeah, it
I would
was.
say, yeah. Although I tell you, I think I can't believe I'm saying this. The Packers, I think, are the worst team they've played this year. I mean, they stuck in there a little bit. Boy, they did not look good. I think our defense made them look a little bit better than they were, unfortunately. But yeah,
Yeah.
that's got to be the worst Packers team I can remember seeing. Just
Yeah.
wow.
Yeah. And that's why I was like, geez, why are they like, why are we not? I mean, I know the Steelers aren't great. We know that. But it's like, geez, you know what I mean? Like, what they were 3-5 or something, right? Coming into the game,
Three and
or
six now,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah, they're
Yep.
3-6
right?
now.
Yeah. So it's like, yeesh, you know what I mean? Like, we
Maybe
should be a little better.
maybe Aaron Rodgers and Devontae Adams covered up a lot of problems on that team. Um,
Yeah, if you
yeah.
follow along with it, a lot of it's been they've really received some bad draft grades over the last couple of years, and it's pretty accurate that they have not done well drafting.
Okay, so they're famous for basically screwing over Aaron Rodgers, and anytime it's like, get the guy a first round wide receiver, get the guy a wide receiver, they're like, no, 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 we'll draft the cornerback or whatever. They drafted defense in the first round for like the last 10 years. You would think they would have this like amazing defense, and
Yeah,
they got their
Hmm.
butt kicked by Kenny Pickett. Although Kenny
well, I
Pickett
think they got their butt kicked
Yeah,
by
not
Jalen Waddle and
did.
Najee Harris.
yeah, right.
Yeah,
Yeah, the run game for sure. Uh-huh.
yeah,
Oh,
yeah,
this run game, that I think has been the big development of the past few weeks. Is just this running game has been going just it's just been looking so good, and I think it has everything to do with Broderick Jones being in there now.
Broderick Jones is killing people in that trap block, and actually a couple of times, Darnell Washington sighting again.
Hey,
He was pounding guys yesterday. I mean, he can throw a block, that kid. So
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, I agree with you, Joe. I mean, and I don't know if you were at the game yesterday, but every time he got the ball, Jalen, I mean, there were audible cheers. I mean, the fans are obviously Jalen Warren fans, and he got what for 101 yards yesterday on 15 carries, I think it was, and a touchdown. I mean, that was fun. Najee had 82 yards and a touchdown. So yeah, yeah,
Yeah, 6.7 yards a carry is what Warren's average was, which was, I mean, my goodness.
he
You
hits
know what
that
I mean?
ball
Like
different.
that's
Yeah,
outstanding.
yep,
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah. I love the way
And
he
it was
gets
their
the ball.
first 100-yard game since week 11 of last year. And even then, only Harris only had one 100-yard game last year, and that was week 11 versus Baltimore.
that's
Right.
So
crazy.
it was really great to have somebody have over 100 yards finally. But the fact that it wasn't Harris, you know what I mean? I'd love to be a fly on the wall in his place. You know what I
Well, I
mean?
mean, he had 16 rushes for 82 yards. It's not like 5.1
Yeah,
a carry and a touchdown. It's not like he had a bad day,
right.
but
I
we
tell
all
Joe a lot. I think it's funny the dichotomy between fantasy football and real life because, like, if you watch, I like to watch Red Zone if the Steelers are not on or the Steeler game's over or whatever, and you'll see like top rushers of the day, and you'll see 89 yards, 92 yards, 97 yards. Where if we rewind that clock 10 years ago, you're looking at 140 yards, 120 yards, 118 yards, 111, whatever. It's really changed that dynamic where it's a two back system now, and I think that's got to be tough because you have two guys, especially Najee. I think he's got a little bit of a bigger ego, and in a good way. He'd love to have all of it. But the thing too with Najee kills me, Joe, and I think you called this out on Twitter. All he had to do on that last play was lower his shoulder to get that third down. Instead of he's leaping in the air. Now, Joe, I cover high school football. That's not permitted in Pennsylvania high school football. You're not allowed to leap like that. There's a reason for that. One, it's a little bit of a safety issue, but two, it doesn't, it's teaching you the wrong way. I mean, that
yeah.
cost him basically a third down or a first down. And I
Hmm.
know he can
Yeah.
do it, but just because you can doesn't always mean that you should.
Yeah. And then on the following play, Kenny got flushed out, to the sideline, and they had to go for a field goal instead of a touchdown. So,
Yep. Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. They so Broderick Jones, maybe because he's just a rookie. I guess he wasn't supposed to talk about this, but they said, what's been the difference? He said basically since week 5, we've been working much more closely with the running backs, like the offensive linemen have been working much more closely with the running backs, and just talking things out and just nothing, nothing like not undermining Matt Canada or anything, just working out, what they like and stuff like that. And then they asked Najee Harris, and he's like, "Oh yeah, I don't want to, I don't want to say what it is." And someone said, "Well, Broderick Jones said that you guys are doing these." It's like, "Oh, okay, you guys let the cat out of the bag. Yeah, that's what's going on." So I mean, whatever it is, they're working more closely together. But I think a lot of it has to do with Broderick Jones is just that guy is a beast. That guy was an A+ first round pick, and it's just beautiful seeing him out there. I mean, he said, I want 200 yards rushing, and dang it, they got that.
Yep.
Right.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I don't know. I mean, I guess it's still up in the air about Kenny. He went 14 for 23 for 126 yards. Not great. And it's hard because you go down through Twitter or whatever it is now, X, and there's the Kenny haters and the Kenny. I don't know. I'm not a Kenny hater, but I'm still having a hard time believing he's the guy because of the lack of consistency. He missed a couple guys open again yesterday. He missed Hayward in a flat, which would have given him a first down. Said he had a punt. I mean, and I get it. Everybody has trials and tribulations. First was Hanratty, then it was Bradshaw, then it was Jefferson Street Joe, then it was Hanratty, then it was Bradshaw again. Lack of bad memories. But those guys still came on a little bit further. I know Ben wasn't the greatest, but he had some pretty good games his rookie year. He was surrounded by a better team. I get that. But Allison, Joe, I just would love to see, because yesterday Jordan Love still threw for like 280 yards. I would love to see a 280, 300-yard game, touchdown or two, run one, throw one, whatever it may be. But it just doesn't and seem to still be clicking all that well. And now you've got Matt Canada down the sidelines. Maybe now he's Matt America. But, you got him on the sidelines. I think that's what – and I want to see that. I don't want to see the kid fail. But I keep waiting. When are we going to see this kid, just come out and go nuts?
Yeah, it was really cool to see Canada. The cameras would show him a couple times in the game yesterday, and it was really cool to see him communicating with Kenny right after a play, or hugging Naj or hugging Jalen, and it was you know what I mean? Just him being on the sidelines sort of shows, not that I still don't want him fired or anything, but it just shows that he's a human. You know what I mean? Not that we thought that he wasn't, but you know what I mean? It just shows a different side of him that nobody got to see before, because anytime they showed him, it was in the booth. You know what I mean? He wasn't. He wasn't interacting with the players.
And that one time they showed him after the game-winning touchdown.
Right,
he looked like his mother just died or something.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. So maybe it's the spark the offense needs, but it hasn't yet really happened, other than aside from the run game.
Either Kenny Pickett isn't the guy and just can't recognize open receivers, or he's being told that if you dare throw an interception or have a turnover, you'll never see your family again. Maybe maybe the KGB is involved or something like that. It just seems like, I mean, I joke about copy and paste, but it seems like this is the formula. The only job of the offense is to score a little bit, have the defense do all the work, and then hope at the end you could hold on for dear life. And hey, okay, fine, it works, but my goodness, this is an insane way to live. This is an insane way to play football.
And Kenny should realistically have 3 or 4 interceptions in the last couple of games. There have been a lot of drops. There have been a lot of, a lot of things that
that one yesterday would have went for, that's a really good
Oh,
point.
yeah, that would have been a
one
pick
yesterday would have
six.
been a pick six.
And there
Mhm,
was that
mhm.
fumble, that lateral thing, which for some
Oh,
reason didn't got
geez.
called.
Yeah, and I'll play
Yeah.
devil's advocate. I mean, Deontay Johnson dropping yet another pass. I mean, it's like every game Kenny throws the ball and it's right to him and it's right where it needs to be, and he just drops it. And I mean,
Mhm.
that's aggravating too. And again, we didn't see a lot of George Pickens yesterday, a little bit more, but not a
No.
lot more. And they just seem to
Mm-mm.
have a hard time right now getting on the same page. And I don't know what they need to do, but it's a
Get
struggle.
together, go to a strip club or something,
Right?
you know what I
Yeah.
mean? Have
Go
like
to
a
the
bonding
Pyramid
experience with
Rhino.
them.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah, but I'm not ready to write the kid off yet because I think it's there. But I mean, I'm really wishing there'd be more development where we could see a consistent basis of him. Because here's
Mhm.
my fear, and maybe with the defense it won't be one. But you take a look at that Browns and Ravens game yesterday, right? And the Browns come
Mm.
back. Watson's QBR rating was like god awful in the first half. Then they come all the way back. I worry if we get in a shootout, I think we're going to get slaughtered. And
Yeah.
really, the difference between making it in the playoffs and not is consistency in the playoffs. Well, we saw that. I think it was the Chiefs and Bills the year before. It was an amazing game back and forth for the AFC Championship. If we get in that kind of game, we're going to get our ass kicked. I just don't. And I'm not saying it's
Mhm.
necessarily Kenny's fault. There are other issues, receiver drops, everything we just covered. But I mean, at some point, it's got to click, or if we're going to get blown out.
Yeah. Well,
We're-
what's interesting yesterday is after seeing, reading about the first half of the Browns Ravens, I was like, we can even before the game, I had said we can beat the Browns. Like we can beat the Browns.
We have beat the
Halftime,
Browns.
I was like, we can definitely beat the Browns. After the game, I was like, not sure if we can beat the Browns.
Yeah.
So it's like,
Well,
I guess it just depends on which version of Watson
well,
shows up.
you're going
But
to
I mean,
say, when you say, what are the Steelers going to be like against an explosive offense? They're going to see one when they play the Bengals. So that'll be
right.
really interesting. But yeah, that's going to be very interesting when they play a really good offense. Is this going to work? We'll see.
Yeah,
We'll
because
see.
it's you're gonna run out of steam. If you say, don't worry, the defense has got it. One of these days, the defense is not going to have it. Now, its defense doesn't stink, but it's had its lapses here and there. Right now, they're hurting it. Now, Quan Alexander's gone for the year. So there's a little bit of an injury bug going right there. So there are some holes in the defense. It's good enough to keep us in most games. Yeah, it's still one of the better defenses in the league. But like to your point, Allison, I mean, if it's 10-10 at halftime next week and they come out of the gate and they start rolling down the field, we better figure out a way to respond. Otherwise, it's going to be 33-10 and it's going to be laughable.
Right. Somebody on Twitter had this question. Which quarterback performance would you prefer? A quarterback that threw for 175 yards, 1 touchdown, 0 interceptions, or a quarterback that threw for 300 plus yards, 3 touchdowns, but 2 interceptions?
I don't know. It's
that's tough. You'd have to see what else is going on, what kind of running game you got going on, but that's basically Kenny Pickett. That's basically Kenny Pickett is, don't you dare make a mistake, move the ball a little bit, and just don't make a mistake. And somebody else brought up a very interesting point. Basically, because the Steelers don't turn it over, does that mean and the punt game is the punter is pretty good sometimes? That really puts the other team at a disadvantage because they got to go almost a full field almost every time. And so, the Steelers defense gets criticized for, well, you give up big plays and stuff. It's like, yeah, but they got to go 70, 80 yards to score. And until that, by the time that happens, they're going to screw up at some point.
Yeah, it's almost like I feel like I don't want to say we're a bad team. We're just not a great team, but we're playing good football, if that makes sense. It's almost like a microcosm of the Dolphins, right? They're 6-3 too. But if you look at the three teams they've lost, they've gone up against good teams and gotten their asses kicked, right? The Eagles beat them. The Bills slaughtered them. I forget the third loss. But, I mean, it's not like they're this juggernaut. That offense can be juggernaut, but if you throw a good defense to hold them in, it's – they're beatable, and that's what I worry about with us. I think we're gonna get so long here, and at some point we're gonna get punched in the mouth. And
no question.
can we respond? And we'll see.
Yeah.
this whole Cinderella thing, this whole, everything has to be perfect and we eke out a win. Eventually that's going to catch up with them, and it's not going to be pretty.
Yeah. Yeah. It reminds me a
I mean,
little
I
bit of
think the
that
Jaguars
89.
game was a perfect example of that.
Right.
You know
Yeah.
what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
Yeah.
it's
I actually
no bluff.
asked, this is something I heard on the radio. Are the Steelers a bad team playing well or a good team playing poorly?
I think they're a
I know
good
you
team
got to think
playing
about it.
poorly. Right?
You think
Yeah.
you think a good team
Yeah,
playing
because I mean
poorly?
they have a solid roster. You know what I mean? It's not for lack of
Right.
talent. I mean, even Kenny Pickett last year, you know what I mean? Showed that he had what it said, you know what I mean? Like regress. He's regressed. We talk about it a million times. But the roster as a whole, I think is very solid. I mean,
Yeah.
until the whole inside linebacker debacle, but
I would
the
tend to
injury.
agree. I would tend to agree. I mean, it's definitely there's a lot of teams right now that would give their left, to have our defense, or Keith
Mhm.
Waters, Highsmith, or how about Minka? The one play that really kind of got me yesterday, and I don't know if you caught it, but Mark Cabali came out a little bit earlier today with it. So when they called that timeout at the end of the play with Green Bay Red, that was Minka Fitzpatrick saying, "You got to get us out of man coverage." He knew. Terrell Austin didn't know. Terrell was ready to run the
Mhm.
play. It was Minka Fitzpatrick says, "We got to take a timeout. We got to get out of man here." And what happens?
Yeah.
They change the defensive backs. They line up in the gaps, and boom, there's an interception. He knew it right away. Minka's
Mhm.
Minka's a very smart player. So yeah, I
Yeah.
mean, when
That's
he's on the
mind
field,
blowing.
and it's noticeable how we've been giving up things without him on the field. He's a difference
Yeah.
maker big time.
He
Mhm.
basically is a defensive coordinator out there.
Yeah,
And
Mhm.
without him, without um who got hurt, like Cole Holcomb got hurt last week, and then
yep.
Quan this week, there was like nobody to call the plays.
I think Roberts was calling the
Mhm.
plays.
Yeah.
Is it? Yeah. Which, oh
Yeah.
gosh, not that he's not capable, but he hasn't done it. So it's like, it's like sending one of us out there next week. Hey, call plays out
Right.
there. You'll be good out.
That's
Sure.
huge. Now, yeah, they're either going to hope that whoever who's left is good enough, which I don't think they are, or they're gonna have to just scheme it up and only have like one inside line, like just a lot of nickel and dime or something. I don't know.
Yeah. And I feel like,
Yeah.
Joe, we talked a little bit about before we went on air here, how like the Michigan Penn State thing, how I felt like with what happened with Harbaugh was kind of fueling Michigan to go in there and really beat Penn State, which they did. I feel like the Browns are really waiting for us on this. I mean, they are not
Mhm.
happy how that loss went in Pittsburgh, whether they feel they got robbed. I mean, they lost Chubb. It was just a crappy game all around for them. Like, I feel like they are going to be up and ready for this, and the Steelers better be ready because the Browns are definitely going to be ready. Big high. They just beat the Ravens. They hate the Ravens. It was not really the Browns beating the Browns, so
Yeah.
here we go. They're going to be sitting there Sunday, and they're going to be waiting and
Mhm.
ready.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah. There's no doubt. I mean,
Yeah.
everybody's gonna be. This is, they could say all they want about, oh, it's just another game.
No.
It's not. It's
I
not.
don't even
And
think I don't even think
it's different than Pittsburgh and Cincinnati. It's different than Pittsburgh and Baltimore. It's Pittsburgh and Cleveland. You know what I mean? Like, I kind of hold a different significance than any other rivalry, I think.
every time the Steelers go into Cleveland, that is their Super Bowl. I don't
Mhm. Oh
care
yeah.
what they're doing the rest of the year. That is their biggest game of the year. And yeah, now, first of all, they feel good because they beat Baltimore, and
Mhm.
they think that Deshaun Watson is actually he might actually live up to that ridiculous contract. They're
Depending on what
yeah,
Yeah.
happens.
and they're mad about what happened last time. Like you said, they're mad about
Mhm.
Nick Chubb. Yeah, the Steelers are going. They're going to go into Cleveland on a friggin' buzzsaw.
Mhm.
Yep. Yeah. If they
Yeah.
can go up there this Sunday and come back with a convincing win, I'll be really impressed. We talked about that. I think all of us kind of agreed, with LeeAnn too, that a lot of those games within a division, we had them split in a lot of the games just because it's so tight.
Mhm.
It's such a
Right.
monument. If they win this Sunday, that's huge. If they're 3-0
Mhm.
in the division, then that's really big. So there's a lot on the line for the Steelers too. But the Browns have that loss in the division. It's to us, and it's another reason that they need to really take care of business Sunday with us. So
And then they're at next week. They're at Cincinnati.
Yeah.
who is in
Woo!
last place, the last place Cincinnati Bengals. Oh
Right.
boy.
Yeah.
Oh boy.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
by the way, that Houston loss does not look so bad now because I mean they went into Cincinnati and beat the Bengals. That's amazing.
Yeah. And the
but
Bengals started coming back. I mean, Houston was up, I think, by double digits, I
it was
think,
like
at one
literally like
point
10
early in
points
the
and they
game.
came back.
Yeah.
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 So, we're getting Joe Burrow right at the right time. You know what I mean? For the Bengals anyway. So
Yeah.
I know.
better hope, we've got to have Minka back. And maybe even Freiermuth. I mean, apparently he's supposed to be, but Freiermuth said, he said that a few weeks ago that he was ready to roll. Against to come in and play against the Rams. So I'm not.
That's what's tough about those injuries as they go on, because when it gets colder, that injury is worse and worse out there.
Well,
It nags more, it tugs more. It's just an aggravating injury.
Freiermuth is on injured reserve, right? So he had to be like whenever that started, that had to be he's on injured reserve.
Yeah.
Now
yes, but
I don't know this. It's plans to resume practicing next week, which I don't know which means this week, and hopes to be ready to play when first eligible to return from injured reserve November 19th at Cleveland. So maybe he'll be back.
Yeah. I mean, that's what he said. He told Steelers Now or whatever that he was going to practice this week, and he was hoping to play against Cleveland. So I think that's the plan, but it's only Monday. You know what I mean? So we'll see.
Yeah, I really feel like turnovers could be a big thing next Sunday, and what you do when you get them. And we had two this past Sunday, and they helped out a great deal, obviously. So if they get the opportunity, and I think they will, I think Deshaun Watson throws a lot of balls that are very easily pickable. He lofts them up a lot of times, he floats them. And if they do it, though, that's what I'm saying. Like Kenny and the guys, they got to get in. And because the Browns defense is very good. I don't know if it's an elite defense, but it's good. It's solid. So, they got to make every opportunity they can count next Sunday. If they get turnovers, which I think they can and will, they've got to score on them. They have to.
It is possibly elite, but the Steelers have already seen it this year, and I think they could at least figure out some tendencies or something like that. So that helps. Another thing that helps is apparently now the Steelers are like the greatest team ever on the first drive of the game. Where the heck that came from?
2 weeks, baby.
2 consecutive weeks with an opening score drive. Yay!
We're competent. Yay!
And we shoot our shot, and we're done.
Right, and
then that's it. Kenny's like, I'm gonna take the middle of the game off, just like the middle of the field, and I'm just gonna maybe show up for the fourth quarter. That's what I'll do this time.
They became the first team since 1939 to be outscored in their first 9 or outgained their first 9 games and have a winning record.
Right.
It's stuff like that. Like oh my God. And maybe we keep winning that way, but I maybe it's the pessimist in me thinks like, man, one of these days it's gonna catch up to us. It's got to.
Now, in their defense, they actually tried at the end of the game to not just give it to the defense and actually tried to, and they had. Now they were doing the run out the clock with the predictable toss to the running back, and but when it was third down, they had this great play, but then it came back on penalty. So
right,
yeah. They actually looked like they wanted to score again, which is like, what is this? And Tomlin, like you said, he usually just runs out the clock and he's happy with how things are. But yesterday was a little different.
Other than that playoff loss a few years ago, one of their only ones to Cleveland ever. I do feel like one thing Mike Tomlin does well is prep these teams. He has something in his bag of tricks that they're always ready for Baltimore. They're always ready for Cleveland. So I'm optimistic into going on Sunday, but I still feel like those things have to happen. Turnovers, take advantage of them. I'd love to see Kenny have 240 yards and 2 touchdowns. If he can do that, and either one of those running backs can throw over 100 yards or both can hit the 80 zone, I think we have a good shot.
Just show us something.
Yeah.
Show us something. We get it. We get it. It's probably what he's been told. Like, don't you dare take chances. Don't you dare make an interception. But still, do something, man. I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, it
And I
would be
can,
nice. I'd like to see an exciting game. You know what I mean? That isn't just about the end. You know what I mean? Like where they put it all together on all three phases, and
right.
maybe like outscore the other team by more than maybe like a touchdown, maybe a touchdown and a field goal. You know what I mean? Like I just want something like I want that, and it's like it's such a minor request, isn't it? I mean, it's football. You would think that that'd be
I'd,
something that they were wanting to do. I mean, obviously they want to do it, but it's like, come on, man. Like,
I'd love like a
yeah,
28-6 win, something like
yeah. I
that,
mean, that hasn't happened in a long
31-10.
time.
Yeah. I
Right.
mean, that would be, and some of the stats are just mind blowing. What was it just a few weeks ago when they only had 5 first downs or something like that inside the 20. I mean, it's so, and that's the thing. Like, I think on a normal team, you'd be like 0-6 or
Right.
1-8 at this point. And somehow they are just trudging through this. And I think that's the
Mm-hmm.
thing. Like, they're either going to break through and start clicking and start putting together wins with what you're saying, Allison, this 28-14 victory, something like that. Or like I said, something's going to break them. So hopefully
Mm-hmm.
they can keep it together.
I could be wrong on
Right.
this, but I think I saw that they are 9-0 in their last 9 one-score games.
Yeah.
That's
Wow.
insane.
Yeah.
Yeah. Gives us all heart attacks on our couches from
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Every week it's a heart attack.
Yeah. Yep.
It is laughable if you look at the points for in the division. The Steelers have 156, the Bengals have 182, the Browns have 214, and the Ravens have 270. The Ravens almost have twice as many points as the Steelers, and yet the Steelers are half a game behind. It's just the most
Right. And we beat
ridiculous
them.
thing. And we beat them.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's such a weird.
But
such a
that's the
weird
Ravens,
season.
right? They'll go up and destroy Detroit, and then they'll be
Mm-hmm.
mediocre through the rest of the season and lose to us probably again, or the Browns, or something like that. And that's just, to me, Ravens football over the years. They do that, and everyone
Mm-hmm.
says the Ravens are going to the Super Bowl. Look what they did to the Lions, and then
Right.
Well, the next game, yes, the Steelers are playing the Browns, but also next week the Bengals are playing the Ravens, and I'll bet my house, your house, all of your houses that the Bengals are going to win that game. They have to. They have to win that game. They're in last place, for God's sake.
Yeah.
I hope so.
Yeah.
I hope they beat the Ravens.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then we might be looking at the first place Pittsburgh Steelers.
Right. Could you?
You could. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. And that would be the case. We'll beat the Browns, and then we'll go to Cincinnati and lose. I can almost see it now.
And then we'll lose to Arizona. I'm calling it
Oh,
already.
God, don't say that.
Losing to Kyler Murray. I'm telling you right now, I am 100% sure of it. We're losing to that dude.
They haven't played the Cardinals in Pittsburgh since what, like 1980 something. I think it's I mean, I can't remember the last time.
Neil Lomax was out there.
Yes. Neil Lomax and
Neil
Stump Mitchell.
Lomax.
Stump Mitchell and Roy Green, and yeah, they were
Oh yeah, that's funny because that's in Pittsburgh. Yeah, the only hope the Steelers have is if it's a cold day in the Arizona. People are like, ew, I don't like cold weather. I don't want to play out here. Maybe that'll happen.
Yep.
All right.
Wait, it gets dark here at 6 o'clock. In Arizona, they don't do the time change in Arizona.
Right. Yeah.
Oh,
So,
really?
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. So they're gonna be like, "What is this? What is this?"
Yeah, it'll be an interesting next 2 weeks. I mean, it's the best division in football. Sorry, rest of the NFL, but prove me wrong. It really is.
Yeah.
And each of these next 2 games are so
your worst team in the division is the Cincinnati Bengals. Yeah, I'd call that the best division.
Right. Yeah, exactly.
Yep. Yeah.
Insane.
Yeah, that's something that nobody ever saw coming, but the whole injury to Burrow as well, threw everything for a bit of a loop.
Yeah.
We knew that once he started, getting back on track, that the Bengals were gonna.
We couldn't be lucky enough to get, Burrow hopping on one leg. No, we have to
Right.
get
Oh,
Burrow
yeah.
full strength. Great.
Right.
Yay.
Exactly.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, it's just gonna be real fun. This is just my favorite time of the year, especially like
Mhm.
once we get into like week 13, 14, and we're really talking about playoff scenarios and stuff. All my life, this is my favorite time just to check this stuff out. So I'm so excited.
Mhm.
Yeah, no, I agree.
Same.
There's so much with Browns and Steelers is fun. I mean, I still feel the Ravens are our number one rivalry, and it's a Ravens week, and that's all there is to it. But yeah, I mean, it's a big deal. Like you said, it's big in their fan base. I mean, Cleveland, got to give Cleveland fans credit too. For as lousy as that team's been, for as long as it's been, man, they're always there, always.
Mhm.
They got to be one of the best fan bases in all professional sports. So, and I feel like our fan base is pretty good and pretty up there too for that. So, yeah, it's a big deal. And then let's see, what they do. Joe, the only other thing I was going to point out, I wonder if you'll see them work Nick Herbig in over there, move him to inside linebacker a little bit, or on the, mix him in a little bit.
So that makes all the sense in the world, but apparently coaches were asked about that, and when they're asked about it, they're like, "Are you kidding? What's wrong with you? He's an outside linebacker." It's like, you know what? You might want to teach him.
Yeah, just what the hell? Give him a
Right.
shot. I get that. I get that he's an outside linebacker, but I mean, at this point, you're dipping into the practice squad pretty much now for backing him up.
Lawrence Timmons,
Michael Walker could have
yeah.
just signed like 2 weeks ago, a week ago.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Oh, that's right. That's right. It's like MYKAL or something like that.
It's spelled
It's a
all
weird.
and I was always calling him Mike Cal, and it's like, no, it's Michael.
Sure.
It's totally
Yeah.
Michael, and I'm like,
that makes perfect sense.
These were two of the guys, Joe, in our kind of a kickoff show we were the most excited about was Alexander, and then you had Holcomb, and now they're both gone, and
they were both having really strong seasons.
It's a huge loss, because that was actually a strength of the team when it was such a weakness of so many years of those inside linebackers, and now they're decimated.
Yeah, and
those he just had that big interception last week. Week before last now.
That's right.
To win the game. So
that's right.
In these next 2 weeks, not the like Kareem Hunt's lighting the world on fire, but he's a decent back, and he's good at cutting the inside, which is where Holcomb would be to stop him. And then you get Joe Mixon, who's the ageless wonder. He's still a good back somehow, and he's another guy they're gonna have to contend with in 2 weeks. So yeah, I just wonder
that Ford guy too for Cleveland. Didn't he run?
He's very good. Jerome Ford is very good. Yeah.
Jerome Ford, yes. Yeah.
He is. So yeah, I think we're gonna really see where we stand with that injury in these next 2 weeks too.
Mm-hmm.
Those are big losses.
All right. Well, probably prepare for another heart attack next week. So
I'm sure. Yep.
Take your aspirin.
Yeah. And I'm from Cleveland, so it's like that heart attack is like 20 times worse for me. So
I didn't know that.
Yeah, she's from Cleveland.
Factory of Sadness.
We rescued her from rescued you from we snuck her out of the Factory of Sadness and into the promised land.
Glad we did.
Yep. Right.
All right, guys. All right. Hey, thanks a lot.
See you guys.
Thank you guys.
We'll see you.
See you.